Devil Woman, wasn't that what one of the options that we could have called Claudia?
You're back. Good. What can I help you with?
I've got some more questions about reality.
More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of the day. Go ahead, ask me anything.
You said pale. What is pale?
The Pale is not, technically speaking, part of reality.
Yes. Also, I think we've had enough excitement for today. We do have a case to attend to.
Shut up, Kim.
His voice is low, but firm. All she can say is...
Of course, Lieutenant. Let's try something else.
I feel like something's being kept from me. What do you mean it's not a part of reality?
Ma'am, remember you are dealing with a very sensitive and impressionable police officer who is still recovering from a recent medical episode.
The Lieutenant's right. Let's change topics. What do you want to know? Anything.
Let's do this tonight, which means there is a Saturday.
But she wants to tell you.
I can see that. I can see that.
You could sneak back later, when he's not around, unless you can convince him to step aside.
Ooh. Let's convince him to step aside.
Good idea. Just ask him. He won't make a scene.
Hey, Kim, can I talk to the ma'am alone for a second? No reason.
Fine.
See? What can he do? You're a grown man.
Now, what is the Pale?
Are you sure you're sure? Your colleague seemed adamant.
Yes. What is the Pale?
Okay. The Pale is the most dominant geological feature of the world, Detective. The separative tissue between the islas. It is the inter-islary mass.
Wait, and what is an isla?
Isla is a Messinian word for a continent of matter, enveloped on all sides by the Pale. Also, isolation, or landmass. We used to believe there was only one. In the last 4 centuries, we have discovered 7. Mundi, Seol, Samara, Ilmara, Grad, Katla, and this, Insulinde.
Insulinde is...
An oceanic isla. It comprises mostly of water. Muindi is the largest, Katla the coldest, Insulinde the bluest. What can I say? Each is perishing and dear.
Okay, and what is the Pale like?
Achromatic, odorless, featureless. The Pale is the enemy of matter and life. It is not like any other, or anything in the world. It is the transition state of being into nothingness.
Is it... here?
No, Detective. We're safe. It begins there, 6,000 kilometers to the north, and even more to the south, east, and west. You are in the middle of the Isla.
As your gaze instinctively turns north, a small black pit opens up in your stomach.
6,000 kilometers from the end of the world?
Yes. That is enough. Many cities are built much closer.
And... there?
An uproar of matter, darling. Rising into the Pale. Rolling. Evaporating even. The Great Vision. The area of transition between the world and the Pale is called porch collapse. Imagine a grey coronal mist, cold vapor marked by spores of an opportunistic microorganism, a mold that's adapted to grow at the edge of the unrest. It's the most disco thing you will ever see.
You hear your pulse rise. The air feels caustic and cold suddenly.
What are its physical qualities?
It's difficult to describe, or even measure. Something whose fundamental property is the suspension of properties. Physical, epistemological, linguistic. The further into Pale you travel, the steeper the degree of suspension, right down to the mathematical. Numbers stop working. No one has yet passed the number barrier. It may be impossible.
If we're surrounded by the Pale, how do you get from Isola to Isola?
Oh, it is so difficult for us.
A squall of birds. Hardware operating in the harbor. Firm. Self-evident.
It is possible to force dimensions on the Pale. In modern times, we can even compress its latitude, bouncing radio waves from one end to the other, shortening the path. But it is still hard for humans to navigate the Pale without getting lost, or having our minds damaged.
Pale can damage the mind?
Extensively.
How?
Some say the damage stems from extreme sensory deprivation. Others argue that Pale somehow consists of past information that's degrading, that it's rarefied past, not rarefied matter.
Interesting.
They call it the blend over of the self. The Pale does not only suspend the laws of physics, but also the laws of psychology, maybe history even. The human mind becomes over-radiated by past.
What does this over-radiation feel like?
It feels terrible. Absolutely terrible. International standards strictly limit civilian travelers to 6 days of Pale exposure per year.
You're not a civilian passenger?
No, Lieutenant Dubois. I'm entreprenetic business class. I'm cleared and trained for 22 days of Pale transit annually.
Okay.
Perhaps that explains her strange pining after the revolution. Some degraded early memories.
Do lorry drivers pass the Pale?
Yes. Carried in the hulls of airships. It's a horrific job. Automation will abolish it soon.
You should ask the Pale driver about this. See what she says.
Pale driver?
That poor woman must have stories to tell, like you wouldn't imagine.
Oh, maybe the lady that was a little bit on the crazy side. Are you over-radiated?
Up to my gills, officer.
An acidic smile on her lips. It's getting worse every year.
What is anthroponetic?
Entreprenetics is the scientific study of the Pale, or a recent iteration of it by way of Garte. The study of the Pale reaches back 6,000 years. The Pericarnassians called it the Western Plain.
Did they cross it? The Western Plain?
There are signs of pre-modern crossings. Successful navigation of the Pale relies not just on technical know-how, but intensive psychological preparation. Some of these tactics have been known for thousands of years.
What has anthroponetics changed, then?
Nothing. We remain powerless before the Pale. The only real advance in Pale transit is the speed with which an aerostatic craft can pierce it. Less exposure leads to less effects later.
Aerostatic craft?
Hybrid airships, Detective. Conventional rotors or jet engines no longer add velocity after the point of reference for motion is suspended, once you've crossed from near pale to far pale. In essence, we throw them in and they come out the other end, if we throw them precisely.
And if we don't?
Then they don't.
How much pale is there compared to the world?
The pale outweighs reality 2 to 1. There is more pale than there is matter, and the ratio is slipping.
Slipping? How? To our detriment, or...?
What do you think, Detective?
It's growing. There is more and more of the pale.
Precisely. One of the few measurable effects of the pale is that it is expanding at an unknown rate.
Oh boy.
An intuitive conclusion of that development is that one day the pale will cover everything. But this sort of talk is mostly left to extremists.
It's not extreme at all. It's going to happen.
Most people, and indeed most private and government sector organizations, entire civilizations and religions even, find handy ways to ignore or downplay that knowledge.
I bet they do.
I suggest you do the same.
Time to crawl back into the bottle, I guess?
Off we go. You see the hanged man's mouth open.
Off we go into the wild pale yonder.
One and all. They say pale is death, but for the universe.
Why should we just leave, and the world get left behind?
How interesting. Let's return to reality, please.
Yes, sweet reality. But before we do, tell me, Detective.
Yes.
Is this the first time you're hearing this? Do you really not remember anything?
I'm getting a sense of who I am, but no. I didn't know this.
Beyond curious. Tell me, what do you think of the Pale?
A lot of choices. It's terrifying. It's disco. Will end all life. I think we gotta go with the communist answer, right? Its advance can only be stopped with immediate, total, ruthless communism.
Mm-hmm.
Her tense crow's feet radiate. Her eyes tense. Crow's feet radiate from them. She observes you. Your bloodshot eyes and swollen face.
Your ailing constitution, sweaty forehead, the beads there, and your heavy breathing.
You really didn't know. This does not spell good for the investigation, Detective. If you don't know even this, then...
This investigation will be my masterpiece. The one they remember me by. I promise.
I hope so. I truly do. If I may suggest, hold on to your colleague, Kitsuragi.
Yes.
I ran a check on him and he is very competent. In the meanwhile...
Some of that assurance is meant for herself, as much as it's meant for you. She must have a lot on the line here.
You have me. I will assist you in any way I can, even if we have to do it one basic term at a time.
She gives you a slight bow.
Good. You have not passed out from it. Perhaps I worried for nothing. Are we still on the reality lowdown, or should we do actual police work now?
That was fucking insane, Kim.
Yes, well, the rest of us have dealt with it for thousands of years, so...
He looks around a little uncomfortable now.
You will have to deal with it, too, the lieutenant thinks. This is why I didn't want you to know.
Some more reality lowdown before we go.
I am happy to oblige.
Sure, let's try this. What is...
6 kilometers southwest, in the Valley of Dogs, Junior Officer Chad Tilbrook takes aim at a rabid black dog licking its wounds in the grass. To his left, his partner, Emil Mullins, whispers, "You heard what happened to Tequila Sunset in Martinez?" "Yes, he lost his mind," Tilbrook answers, fingers on the trigger. "Don't worry, Emil." He pulls it out slowly. Slowly now. He'll find it again.
My Tequila Sunset?
We always do.
What am I?
You? You're an officer of the RCM.
She says energetically. The Revachol Citizens Militia?
Preciso mundo.
Good. And what is the Revachol Citizens Militia?
Nothing more nor less than the de facto law enforcement body of post-revolutionary Revachol, Detective.
I knew that.
Yes, we are the Revachol Citizens Militia.
You said de facto.
Yes, that means not de jure. The RCM acts in what is poetically called the twilight of international law, both at the behest of the coalition government and to its chagrin.
What do you mean?
The RCM's responsibilities are defined by the Emergency, Wayfarer and Aliments Acts, 3 pieces of legislation keeping the city in a, let's be honest, laissez-faire stasis to the benefit of foreign capital.
All 3 are good to know when we are out policing.
So I'm basically a thrall to foreign interests.
There's nothing basic about your role, Detective. It's true that the RCM keeps everything the way our seemingly permanent provisional rulers like it.
She leans in.
Yet, on the other hand, I know these people. I deal with them daily. Let me tell you, dear, they are not fans of you.
Why?
The post-revolutionary decade was a disaster for the coalition government. Revachol in the 20s was hell, especially on the west side of the river. Gang warfare, a botched privatization scheme, a nuclear pile meltdown. They called it the international zone because no nation wanted to claim responsibility. The RCM restored peace where the coalition failed. A true blue citizens' initiative. They will never forgive you.
That's somewhat of an exaggeration. In reality, ours is a mutually beneficial arrangement. Revacholians get to keep the peace in Revachol, and the coalition doesn't have to worry about it. Anyway, sorry to intrude. Please continue.
Yes, Lieutenant. Permit me to conclude with this. Who you are, to me, is the police. The only legitimate law enforcement authority in Revachol.
Thank you, ma'am.
And if those authorities drink so hard they need help recalling the basic terms of reality, well, I'm here to help.
She bows and smiles. I want to know what you are.
She won't maneuver her way out of this one.
Good to know. What are you?
I am the vilest of the vile. A traitor. A devourer of nations and infants. I am an ultra.
Oh, what?
It's sharp.
Dios mío. Wait, what's an ultra?
An ultra-liberal. It's a type of liberal. From the revolution. It's, not the moderate kind.
I'm gonna do this, actually. Dios mío. Liver.
Yes. I am the nether creature of the Forbidden Swamp. I pushed the king under a shit wagon and betrayed the revolution. My kind surrendered the nation to financial colonists. I can see you thought our kind were all extinct. After all, no sane person identifies as this anymore. Not in broad daylight. I can see we're not so different, you know. Tell me, now that I've uncoiled myself, do you find me frightening?
Weird.
In her green eyes, you see a mixture of truth and self-satire. Decades of guilt and pride. Forgive her. But only because you like pearlescent teeth and those light green eyes.
I will take the lead of both suggestion and electrochemistry. I forgive you. But only because you're charming.
A devil, who being of great charm and guile, sneaketh into the homes of the godly.
Beneath her waterproof raincoat and silk shirt is a body imbibed in numb 12 perfume. You are suddenly and intimately aware of it.
What the fuck? It's smoother than it was with Devil Woman. Wasn't that what one of the options that we could have called Claudia? We'll just nod Devil Woman.
I'm afraid you'll find that every woman is a devil woman, detective. There are only aesthetic differences between one and the other.
I see.
When the dust settled, the Liberals were the only ones left to clean up the mess. By virtue of their survival, they were handed enormous power to shape the future. This was all our last generation managed.
Would you have done something differently?
With due respect to our overlords, the eternal caretaker government that keeps Martinez a monument to the efficacy of its artillery.
An appropriate warning to those who'd cross the line and pull the city into madness once more.
Then why thank you, authority.
While a gentle wind sweeps the streets in the rebuilt east, light drizzle washing it clean, lights go up and motor carriages circulate the tracks.
I would not have relinquished sovereignty to the Coalition. Not here in Martinez, and not in the Stella Maris or Delta Beachheads either. If not for my own sake, then for my daughters. We had an obligation to defend our sovereignty. We should have burned the whole Isla down rather than let them have it.
Dark orange flames reflect in her green eyes. An oil fire on the ocean.
You're a smart woman.
Perhaps. My intellectual vanity will be my undoing.
It's gonna skip over this one. You have daughters?
Yes. Whatever else I am, I'm also a mother and a wife. Now, shall we return to reality?
That's all for now.
Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else?
Don't be modest. That's all for now. Now you have a thought concluded? And the little guy gets smaller and smaller as you rise above the dollhouse world. You see him out in the snow, on the streets, in the shop on the corner, and finally in a matchbox house. Sitting by the window, white flowers on the windowsill. You can smell them from up here. It's awful. A white mourning. A modern death. Divorce, or something similar. All you can do is put more distance between you and him. Make him smaller. Make him less you. Plus 20% zoom out on distance. What an interesting thing. Now almost works. Learning counts raised by 1. I'm gonna save the skill point for now. So you can zoom out even farther? That's... I never would have guessed that that would be a mechanical advantage we could get. Okay, we're gonna go back and talk with Garte, I suppose, because we have to go back to the Whirling anyway to fast travel. Don't know who that is, but yeah, so we might as well go do the task with Garte, and then I can go and find Claudia's passport.
Wow. Just wow. I hope you really enjoyed yourself up there. Had a cathartic experience. Because for the rest of us...
Some of these interactions were supposed to take place immediately after karaoke. It's fine.
That really sucked.
Let me see. I mean, I'm a sorry cop, so yeah, I sucked up there. I'm sorry.
Good. It's good you're sorry. I'm not letting anyone up there anymore. Now, what did you want? Another thing. Great. I love those.
Garte, I saw a sign that said I couldn't go into the kitchen. Why can't I go into the kitchen?
What are you, a cook now? That's none of your business.
Because there may be something pertinent to the investigation in the kitchen.
He wasn't pan-fried. He was lynched. What could the kitchen possibly have to do with...
He changes his mind.
Fine, okay. The kitchen is closed until 1 p.m. because the cook is working. You can snoop around after that, if you must.
I have to warn you. I may have discovered that the Whirling is part of the doomed commercial area.
What? Why would you say that? We're at a completely different address from that whole thing.
Interesting, he believes in it.
So he knows of the doomed commercial area and its address. He's thought about this.
Wait, so you know of the curse?
Everyone knows of it.
The Whirling is listed on the intercom outside as one of the businesses in Building B. You should get your wiring fixed. I tried to call you and couldn't reach you.
I've been working here for a long time, and that intercom has never been used by the Whirling.
Interesting. I'll give him a little bit of hope. The Whirling was once the East Delta Pinball Arcade, which failed. Though perhaps the Whirling will escape curse.
Does this look like part of a doomed commercial area? This pre-revolutionary tilework, these high ceilings, the nice rooms, well, most of the rooms. For 14 years, man. That's how long I've worked here. I've kept this place up through hail and through sleet. Fuck me, if some doom ghost...
He steadies his
He's
voice.
done a fine job too. Though he's spoken of the place dismissively before, the hostel is actually very important to him.
You really care about the Whirling, huh?
Yeah, it's slowly growing on me again. It's beautiful in its own way, especially for this neighborhood. I've been trying to keep it that way.
He was especially upset about the room and the bird.
Even if it is part of the damn doomed commercial area.
You shouldn't be so worried about that label, you know.
I don't place much stock in the curse and so on, but the label frightens the clientele. Who wants to stay at a doomed hostel? Everything's doomed enough without that.
Who owns this place?
Some real estate management company. They never come around here, just collect money from afar. Honestly, I think some money laundering might be involved.
Ooh.
There is an acrimonious note. It's clear he's doing the real work around here.
Absent owners. And who named it Whirling in
Well,
Rags?
it sure as hell wasn't the real estate company.
It was you?
You look surprised. What? It's a great name, I know. Cafeteria managers come up with great names too. It's from a song.
A song?
Hail, Holy Queen, by the Ateneers. Hail, Holy Queen of the Sea. You're whirling in rags, you're vast and you're sad.
Good pick.
The lieutenant approves. What about those other cafeterias you manage?
What about them? One is a basement dive frequented by chain-smoking communists. I can't tell you how sick I am of Kraz Mazov and Ignis Nielsen and all those old ghosts.
He's hesitating, not sure if he should share this information with you. Encourage him.
And the others?
The other is a kebab cart. It's very successful in its way, but it's nothing like the whirling.
So, my first inclination at the beginning of the game was correct. He puffed himself up. Well, good luck to you with this place.
Luck has got nothing to do with it. I need to think about where I'm going to place those pinballs. I have a feeling they're going to help. So, if you didn't have anything else to tell me about my establishment, can we, wrap it up?
All right, Garte. You're free to go.
Yes.
Goodbye.